So this is my story. And my story started way back in 2011. I'll tell you that its timing was really, really perfect. Because this is the time that I was far away from my family, and this is the time that I was really alone, and this is the time that I did away with friends because of the previous betrayals. And this was the moment that I was just me and me alone in a strange land. And this was the time where where nobody knew me, or where nobody cared about who I was or what I was doing. So this was the time also that many people were so full of themselves. So I kept distance. I kept distance and broke the contact because I was dying. I was dying because it really took over my life, and it was destroying me, and no one was realizing. To be precise, my story began on the 16th of December 2011. That very moment, I made my way to the airport, Billund Airport in Denmark. My going to the Billund Airport was to go and pick my parents, who were to arrive there around 4 o'clock. That later turned to be 1 a.m. That was the time they arrived. So, as usual, we did our waiting time, waiting for the plane to land, and we were there. Nothing was really happening. I think 3 or 4 times the flights landed, but they were not there. So we just kept waiting and waiting. Suddenly, towards 1 a.m. in the morning, we saw a group of cabin crews and one woman on a wheelchair. So I was somehow skeptical. I didn't want to go to them because I was so watching out not to let anyone pass me. So I kept my eyes direct there because a lot of people were coming out of the exit. So I really needed to keep watching so that I don't miss my parents. So people were coming out until the exit was empty. There was no one left there. So I saw this woman on a wheelchair parked aside, and these cabin crews were just standing there. And something was funny, that this woman was weeping. It didn't really bother me to go to her, but somehow I was feeling sad in me the way she was bitterly weeping. But you know what? I went to one of the cabin crews and called her aside. So I asked her what the problem was with the woman. But before she could respond, the woman on the wheelchair heard my voice, and she shouted, "That is my daughter's voice." And I was like, "Eh? That is your daughter's voice?" And then I was like, "That is my mother's voice." And yeah, she was my mother. She was my mother. But the problem was we couldn't really identify ourselves so fast because it was late in the night, and I had the winter outfit. So you know how full it can be, and it can't really make it easy for someone to identify you easily. And being that we were also far away from one another for such a long time, I grew up because I left when I was really still a young girl. I was barely 18. I was barely 19 when I left, or 18 like that, when I left home. So I was still that young girl. So it was really hard to really identify me. And for me, I was never expecting my mother on the wheelchair. So you don't blame me for not seeing she was my mother, because my mother was traveling with my father. And I really expected to see my father and my mother, a couple walking together towards me. And my father, for those who know him, he is someone you identify from father. That's my father. So this really bothered me. But before we could even say hello to one another, the cabin crew pulled me aside. One of them pulled me aside and told me that, "Are you the daughter of the woman there on the wheelchair?" Then I said, "Yeah, she's my mother. And why is she on a wheelchair?" And then they were like, "Oh, we are sorry, we are sorry. She was traveling with the husband, but the husband has passed on. The husband passed on in the plane, in the flight actually. We tried our best, but he really didn't make it. So I was like, okay, calm down. Let me go and confirm really whether that's my mother talking to me. The voices can be the same. So I went and double checked, talked to her. And the moment I went to her, I actually saw it was really my mother. I was not dreaming, it was really my mother. So the first question I asked that, Mama, where is my dad? And then she didn't respond. She started weeping again, so bitter that I really realized that something was really not right. Okay, I said to myself that this is now beyond me. I just have to really know what's really happening here because I don't know anything. So I asked the cabin crew, if my father died, where is he? Why didn't he come? I was so naive and ignorant to even know that when someone dies in a flight, they don't take it over to the pre-planned destination. They leave him at the first transit. So my father was left at the first transit, that was Netherlands. So he was left in the morgue in Netherlands. So my mother told me, your father is no more. And I was like, you are not serious. You are not telling me something. You're not telling me something. So I left her. And then I went to the crew and tried to find out what really happened and what is really, the next step to take, because this was the moment I told myself, I really have to calm down. I want to really tell you that moment I got the news of my father. Trust me, no tears dropped from my eyes. Trust me. And my tears didn't drop out of my eyes because I don't love my father. But I really realized the way my mother was broken. I really realized that if I had to really make my tears go down, then my mother would have ended up also the same as my dad. Because the situation I found her in was really not a situation you could really want to worsen. She was already torn apart. She was already torn. She was so finished. I can't explain to you enough to really understand what I mean right here. So I decided to be strong. I told myself, this is the time. This is the time you really have to prove to your mother that you love her. I did this because I love her as well. Because I really never wanted something again to happen to her after that disturbing news. I never mourned, I never weep, I never did anything. So I left. We left. We got into the car and we drove home. So when we got home, I was trying hard to make my mother smile. I was trying hard to make my mother laugh amid all these pains and sorrows she was going through and we were going through, because by then we were only two, the two of us, you can imagine. And then, you know what happened? I tried my best and it was very hard. You could see that all the smiles and all the smiles were all faked. But it was better for her to even fake it like that than nothing, because I couldn't let her just mourn throughout, because she was really going down. Her life or her health was really going down. So I tried my best for all those times we were there and things were coming down. Behind my brain, I was really feeling hard to cry. I couldn't. I want to tell you that moment that my mother was with me, trust me, she will bear me witness that I never mourned my father. To cut the story short, I never get time to mourn my father to make my mother strong, to give my mother that surety that she is safe where she is. She doesn't know anybody around. She only knows me. And what if I become weak and destroy myself? How will she be strong and go back to, other 9 siblings of mine she left home? So this was a hard task, I'm telling you. It was a hard task for me. But I told myself I had to pull through it because I knew the strength I had in me. I denied myself mourning my father. I denied myself to release those pains that were in me. I denied myself that freedom of mourning the way I wanted. And this developed into something that I'm about to tell you right now. Something that really took away my life when I didn't know my life was taken away. Something that always talked suicide in my mind. All this time, no one knew. All this time, no one cared. I would say this time, this is the time that my life was also not really well. So I met the double tragedy. So this was the beginning of the life-drowning series in me. Things were good when my mother was still around because I was getting that strength. I had someone to talk to. We could laugh together. We could do things together that could make us a little bit divert our minds away from what we were going through inwardly. You know, my mother was not to stay with me there forever, and she had to go back and bury her husband. She left, and the faking moment came to a stop. That means the reality took over my life. So you know what I mean right here. It took over my life to a point where I didn't know myself anymore. So things were not just what I thought they were. I was losing my mind. I was totally going insane. So whenever I was keeping into this same environment, it kept on reminding me of the things that I really wanted to forget, but it was not easy. So I thought it wise to change the environment. I came back to Germany and everything worsened. This was a place I thought I would get harmony, I would be happy, I would get people to talk to, I would get friends, because I know Berlin are full of blacks, are full of Africans, and I knew I was going to get somebody to talk to. You know, so when I got to Berlin, things took another direction. It wasn't all that I really thought. So I had to start from somewhere anyway. So I started from that somewhere. As time goes, I was not really seeing myself shaping. I was seeing myself breaking every moment in my life. Because, you know, it was not only about now my father's death, it was added with family matters. Don't forget I'm the firstborn. And I have 9 siblings. And my mother is now a widow. And I have nothing. I have nothing but a broken heart. So, you can understand. And she believed in me so much that I really wanted not to disappoint her. So I tried all my best to make her keep on believing in me without letting her know what was really going on with me in life. I kept on smiling behind the phone. I kept on encouraging her behind the phone. Thank God she couldn't see my facial expression. Sometimes I would be smiling, but deep down in my heart, I was bleeding. But well, I would say I kept on faking the strong me. I kept on faking the strong me till it reached a point I couldn't anymore. So this was the moment where I found myself at the bank of the river. I really can't tell what I was doing there. But what I know and what I can clearly tell was that I went there to throw myself in the river. For those who are in Berlin, you know we have a lot of rivers around, so so you know what I'm talking about. To be honest, anyone who has ever met me, they will have a uniform definition of me. They know me to be this jovial girl, always smiling, always happy, always unbothered. That is the path I chose to walk on. Path of smile even when I was hurting. The path of being jovial even when I was broken. The path of just keeping peace even when I needed to make some trouble. that was the path I chose. Because this is not something you really want to talk to anyone anyhow, because this is something when you want to talk about it, you need an attention, real attention. So it kept on like this. I was always having troubles with me, but keeping them away from people. I remember there was a time I was even with my friends and I broke out into tears. I had to leave. I really don't know why I was crying, but I had to leave. I just left, took the train and went home. I really didn't know what was happening with me that moment. But what I know was that I was highly emotional. So I went home and sat there for some time. And somehow I couldn't really understand myself. These mood swings that were never ending were really too much for me. Things were not getting better. I thought of just going to the doctor and finding out what was really wrong with me, because I can't really tell you into details, but I was not all right. I was not all right. I knew deep down in me that I was not all right, because I grew up and up to that age, I had never experienced such a thing in my life. I've gone through troubles in my life, but not what I was going through this particular moment. So I thought that this was something I really had to go to the doctor to find out what was really the problem. So I surely went to the doctor, and the first time I went, there was nothing to be talked about. You just know how they do their stuff. I insisted on the second time I went again to a different doctor. They only took blood and took their tests, and then they told me that in case we have something, we will really call you on the phone, and then we'll let you know whether to come, or if everything is fine, we won't call you. So if you see our call, you should know that there is something, and we will give you an appointment to come back so that we talk over it. So one day comes the phone call. It was that doctor who was calling. I got there and we went to his office. So he talked to me and gave me some few questions to go through. And after filling out that form, he told me that the result is already out and it's not something good. And I was like, what could this be? And then there he goes, I'm sorry to let you know that you're depressed. You're having depression. Poor me. I don't even know what even to do in this moment, because I had to ask him what really depression is. So he explained to me into details, and he told me that before we could start some medication, he would have to go through electrocardiogram so that he could check whether my kidney and my thyroid are doing well for more blood tests. Because it was like, if we find out that you really need medication, antidepressants, then we really need to put you on a mood stabilizer. You know, this is the time I was just at the foundation of my relationship with my husband. And to be honest, he didn't know anything I was going through. He was so ignorant of what I was going through, and I was not ready even to tell him anything, because I didn't know how he was going to react. I didn't know whether I was going to stay or to go. And this time, I was so clingy that I never even wanted him to go. I remember there was a time I was just giving him stress and trouble. I really don't know how to explain this. Because I remember there was a time he was rushing for the train. I went and held the train door and pushed him out of that train. I really don't know what was going on. That is the extent that this pushed me to. So for me, I knew something was not right. But for him, he knew I was a troublemaker, which of course I accepted. I was a troublemaker, of course. So So I was on mood stabilizer for some months before I could realize I was pregnant. And the most painful part of it is that I was on lithium carbonate and I didn't know that I was pregnant. So they told me I should go to my house doctor to tell me the next step to take, because the medications I'm on are very dangerous and life-threatening to the baby I was carrying. So I never wasted time, went there the following day, and I talked it out. So I had to stop the antidepressants. It was hard. It was really hard. It was really hard. I have to let you know this, that it was hard. So I went through 9 months without antidepressants till I gave birth to my baby. And when I gave birth to my baby, I got back after the lactating period was over. I went back for the antidepressants. And all this time, I'm doing all this. My partner in crime didn't know anything. I kept it a secret because I was seeing it like some kind of shame. I was so shameful to talk about what I was going through. And I was afraid of losing him. So I really didn't want to complicate things for me. So I just kept everything to myself and I never talked it to him till after giving birth. And for sure, I would tell you that this medication, this antidepressant I was taking, took a toll on my baby when I was giving birth. It affected my baby in a way that after giving birth, I stayed in the hospital for 3 months in ICU with my baby because his life was threatened. I felt some guilt in me, but I really didn't know what I could say that moment. All I prayed for is that he should come out of that ICU alive and healthy. And so God did his way and brought him out from this ICU alive. Welcome back to my channel. If you are here new today, please take a short tour on my YouTube channel. If you like my videos, do subscribe and don't forget to hit the notification button so that whenever I upload a new video, you are easily to get it at first and don't miss anything from me. The most important thing is that don't forget to comment on the comment box down there to let me know what you think about this video. You can follow me on Instagram at West African Diamond and on my YouTube channel, Queen Fauzia, and on Facebook, Jessie Fauzia Fuseni. I'm not telling you this story to feel pity for me, because if it is pity, I've felt much pity on me, like it's just enough. I'm telling you this story so that you can relate to it. I'm telling you this story so that you can be checking on your friends. I'm telling you this story so that you can be mindful about what you do around people who you see are really not behaving normal. I'm telling you this story so that you can really be awake when you see something you never expected from a friend or someone you know for some time. It should be awakening you. There are some people who are not strong like I was, who could hide their emotions in public, who could hide their emotions with smiles, beautiful smiles where people are, where friends are. Everyone is not so strong like I proved to be strong to it. Not everyone is strong to be that. You know, if you see someone you really trust in and someone you really believe in messing up with their life in a way that you don't even understand why the person is doing that, take your time and talk to this person. This person really needs help, and the help the person needs is just a simple talk. A simple, friendly, and honest talk from you. This is what I really needed that very moment, but I never got it. I assure you, if I could have gotten honest talks, that very moment I was suffering, I could have been healed a long time ago. I kept it to myself because I knew no true soul around me. There were never existing true souls around me till I met my husband, who became a true soul to me. He didn't know I was going through this, but he walked with me through it with a lot of honesty. Because trust me, no man will ever keep a woman who is giving so much trouble to a point of pushing you to the wall. You're already at the wall and you're still giving a smile to this woman. No. So he really gave me the strength to move on. I knew deep inside of me that it was not really me. So I kept on praying that someday this will come to pass. And for sure it came to pass. It only came to pass because I got people to talk to. It came to pass because I got to realize and understood and accepted my situation and accepted my status that very moment. The moment you accept your status and work hard towards making it great, to gain great health, you'll definitely pull over. You'll definitely make it to a level that you never expected. The moment you feel you're already torn apart and the only thing left is you just dying, this is the moment you really have to make a U-turn, a very sharp one. Start finding yourself where people gather. Just be part of them. Even if you don't talk to them, but be part of them. What they tell will make you at least smile once or twice. And this is really a real therapy to you. I noticed most of the time I kept to myself. I never wanted to talk to anybody. I never wanted to be with people. And this was really killing me. If you're really experiencing such a thing, if you're really thinking or suspecting that you might be depressed, the best thing for you is to avoid staying alone. Because if you are staying alone at this time, the things that will be going through your mind will never be going through your mind. If you try to do one, that will be the end of you. I remember there was a time I kept on calling death in my mouth, calling death constantly in my mouth. It was every day, I will kill myself, I will kill myself, I will kill myself. And I've tried that, to be honest, I've tried that severally. But you know what? God doesn't want me to go right now. God has a purpose with my life in this world. So I know He's the one who's been preventing me from committing suicide. So what I want to tell you is that keep true to yourself. That this is something that you cannot fight alone. This is something you need people to help you fight. Depression, you can never fight depression alone. I went through it and I never fought it alone. The time I was fighting alone, it was even worse. But the time I started involving one or two people to help me fight it, it didn't take long. It didn't take long. The depression took part of me till late 2014. It took part of me till late 2014. So you can see how long I was in hell. Like, if I never involved anyone in this to help me fight it, I could have not been that long. Trust me, after 1 year, could have been no more story to be heard about. My name could have not been existing anywhere. I could have not even been telling my story today to you. So if you realize that you are going through this hell of depression, find time to talk to people. Find yourself activities to make your brain at work. Find people to help you fight this. Even if you don't want to be with people, get that one person that you can bother 24/7. Because this thing is a monster. And the only way you can rid it out of you is to find someone to talk to. Even if it's one person you want to bother your whole life and you ignore the rest, just do it. It's for your own good. It did for me. It did for me. I got that dearly one person. And it walked me through without him knowing that I was going through hell. So in my last words, I say, this story, I bring it for you to awaken you. If you're watching this right now, you feel you're not all right, start finding a solution. the earlier the better. Because the more you wait, the worse it becomes. And the worse it becomes, the more it talks to you in your brain. And the more it talks to you in your brain, the more you get used to it and you become friends. So before you become friends with imaginary talks that are telling you to go and take your life, please find a consolation, find a shelter on some people or someone you might really confide in. Put your shame aside, because your shame is never helping you. Your shame is rather destroying you. I let the shame to destroy me. And the shame really made this monster to pull me and to tear me into pieces before I could really get someone to talk to. This is your time. This is your time. Never let this take a grip on your life, because you are more than depression. You are more than depression. It saddens me that most of the people we are losing, we ignore the fact that most of them are dying out of depressed life. It's so sad, mostly to the people who are abroad. You know how sometimes this life could be lonely. You know, you live in your apartment, just you. How many people have been found dead in their apartments? Like, tell me, in one way or another, it comes back to the same monster. These people might have not had someone to talk to for a long time, and they have been dying here on their own. They have no one to talk to. Their families are not around them. They're in a strange land. No one is there for them. And apart from that, you might not know there are some things also which are contributing to their existing problem already. You never know. I'm playing to my sisters and brothers. Let's try and check on our brothers. Let's try and check on our sisters. A 2-minute phone call can really change somebody's life, can save a life. A 2-minute phone call can save a life. Let's check on our sisters and brothers. Let's check on them. Don't wait till that person is dead. Don't wait till you see the breaking news of that person's death on social media. Is when you start calling the relatives or whoever it is, so that you can calling for the financial assistance for the burial, or so that really doesn't matter. What matters right now is how much you help this person before the breaking news of his death or her death. Depression is real. If I wasn't a strong woman, I couldn't have survived it. I survived it under the nose of my best friends, not knowing I was really suffering that. I could wear the best smile in the world. My smile that moment could really win a trophy. So not everyone will wear such smiles to win a situation. So let's be there for each and every person. It might not be your sister, it might not be your brother, your neighbor. It might be your neighbor, it might be whoever it is. Please, let's be there for one another to save lives. If you're in such a situation right now that I just explained I was in, keep fighting. It's not the end of everything. This battle is for you. Keep on fighting, because depression is not part of you. It's not your portion. Keep on fighting, because we are behind you. But the fact that you should not forget is you are the main fighter. So if you don't fight hard, we, the people who wants to support you from behind, will not get a chance to get you out alive. Fight hard, because I know it's not an easy fight. Fight. We are behind you. We are there to we are there to support you. Fight. Your freedom is soon to come, and your freedom is not far away from your door. And your freedom can only come if you keep on fighting, honestly fighting. And what is an honest fight? An honest fight is to accept that you really are that person. You really accept that that is you, that moment. You really have to know that if it's you, it's your responsibility to do something so that you get out of it. So fight, because if you don't fight, it will soon take a toll of you. And the next thing will be no good news. Thank you for watching, and I wish everyone all the best.